With the trade deadline less than a month away, we know the usual suspect of candidates that have already been out there, the Hassan Reddicks, the Devontae Adams of the world. Could Washington be looking to make a significant upgrade at the cornerback position? A guy that has an injury history that is kind of shaky, but will not cost as much as you think he'd cost in the open market. Let's talk about it too. This video and all videos this season will be powered by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, where it all begins, home of the fastest payouts in the industry and a match bonus of 150% using code YouTube150, promo code YouTube150 on your first deposit. That's a 150% match bonus, 125% on your next two. Bet responsibly. And one of the moves Washington made this offseason, we brought in Scott Fitterer to be an undisclosed personnel executive, assist the scouting department and personnel. We brought in Adam Peters and Lance Newmark to run as the GM and assistant GM. We brought over Scott Fitterer after a failed term in Carolina. So if anybody knows about Jaycee Horn, it is Scott Fitterer. Washington has played its best back-to-back defensive ball games where they dominated their opponent. They gave up 14 points to Arizona and let Kyler Murray do nothing with his legs. And they absolutely dominated the man who formerly was known as Deshaun Watson. We know the cornerback room is still the weakest room here in DC. So everybody has been spamming the comments and spamming the chat about trading for cornerbacks. And we've been throwing out the name Marshon Lattimore, and we've been throwing out the name Jaycee Horn. Was drafted back in 2021. No, this is his fourth season, actually. Fourth-year player for the Carolina Panthers, wears a single digit. He's son of Saints great Joe Horn, and fans have been throwing Jaycee Horn and Marshon Lattimore to the Commanders like a Madden trade all season long. Well, we get our first NFL insider from CBS Sports who connected the dots between Jaycee Horn and the Washington Commanders. They say, moves that should be made before the deadline. Washington Commanders acquiring cornerback Jaycee Horn from the Carolina Panthers. The article says, Commanders' new executive Scott Fitterer, former GM of the Panthers, drafted Jaycee Horn early in Carolina. The Panthers like him, but he will likely command top dollar on the open market, despite a checkered medical history. This splash would aid Washington's secondary. It would be quite a splash. You're looking at a 6-foot corner. Put the Gamecocks hat on today for a reason. You're looking at a just under 6'1" corner, 205. He fits the Dan Quinn size, height, weight, speed components perfectly, like a glove. He is the archetype for this defense. And he ran a 4.4 40. So while having size, he has good speed. He'll be one of the faster corners we have in that room. Our starting cornerbacks, Benjamin St-Juste, and a combination of Emmanuel Forbes and Noah Igbenogany. Igbenogany and Sainristil still are getting more snaps on the outside than Forbes did this weekend versus the Cleveland Browns. Washington needs an alpha. They need an alpha dog number one corner. And while JC hasn't quite been Derek Stingley or Sauce Gardner, a majority of the reason why he has not been dominant is because he has suffered hella injury since getting into the league. A fractured foot back in his rookie year and was placed on injury reserve. Had a hamstring injury that put him on injured reserve in 2023. He's missed quite some time with injury. But so far in his career, he's able to amass 102 tackles, 16 pass deflections, and 5 interceptions, but he's had a couple pretty lengthy injuries, but he's clearly the best cornerback in that room there in Carolina. They picked up his 5th-year option back in April. He's a guy that may be on the move because the Panthers are going to be in a continuous rebuild until the end of time with Dave Tepper taking over. They should be in sell mode every year. Buy mode, I don't see it. So you may see guys shipped off like Shaq Thompson, Deontay Johnson, or maybe even Jaycee Horn, because who are they to hand an extension to a cornerback when they need a little bit of everything as the worst team in the NFL right now? Should Washington be in the market for Jaycee Horn? If you can keep this man healthy, he easily walks into Washington's cornerback room as the best corner on the roster by far. So easily, if he's available, Washington should be in the mix. Adam Peters told fans, he told the media this offseason, even if we're not ready to pull the trigger on a guy, whenever you see names come out, Washington will be in the conversation. He wants us to be at least a phone call away if any players of need or any players that can add any specific value to the roster become available. He wants us a part of those conversations. And that's what I'm saying. Even if we're not going to pull the trigger on a Jaycee Horn, a Deontay Johnson, and Adams, etc., I want us a part of the conversation. For far too long, nobody wanted to either come here or do business with Dan Snyder's Washington. We are no longer that. So if Jaycee Horn's name becomes available by the deadline, I expect Adam Peters and company to be on the phone. There's going to be a segment of the fan base that say, why mess up the chemistry and add new players to the roster? Because that's how good teams operate. Good teams don't get content with a 4-1 start. Good teams are not content with playing finally well defensive performances back to back. Good teams don't look at the small picture. They look at the bigger picture and what long-term benefits it could be. With Jaycee Horn, fifth-year option being picked up, you're trading for a guy that you don't necessarily have to pay right now. You can put him like a prove-it situation. Let him play out year 4. Let him play out his option year, and then you can discuss after the 5th year finishes. Or if he puts enough on tape this year, you can get him extended at the end of the season. You have choices. You have options. I could see this move making a lot of sense for the Commanders. I've been seeing Jaycee Horn and Marshawn Lattimore in the comments every week, and I'm like, where are y'all hearing these guys are available? Because usually number 1 caliber cornerbacks are not available at the deadline via trade. But the Carolina Panthers have a peculiar situation going on there. They still stink, and they are in the midst of a continuous rebuild in Carolina, and they may not want to hand out extensions. They may want to completely start over. Morgan and company, they may want to start over from scratch, draft their own corners, left tackles, quarterback, etc., because it looks like the Bryce Young era might be already over in Carolina. So it could be fire sale season in Charlotte. And if so, Washington should be one of the first in line if Jaycee Horn is truly available. This should not be as expensive as you would think, because we're looking at a guy with 3 significant injuries in his career already. And you're like, Rio, why would you trade for a guy who's often injured? Because you're putting the talent ahead of that. And I don't think it's going to cost us too much. What is Jaycee Horn going to cost us? A 4th? The extra 3rd that we got for Jahan Dotson for free from the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm not even sure it takes a 3rd, because while Jaycee Horn is a pretty solid cornerback, I'm not sure yet, based on the amount he's played, that he's exactly been proven worth the 8th overall pick that the Panthers took him with. So it may not be expensive. You may be able to throw a 4th or 5th round pick plus out there, maybe a conditional 4th for Jaycee Horn, maybe an additional day 3 pick in 2026. I don't think this is going to be an expensive trade. So you got my ears, CBS Sports. You've got my ears, and you've got my attention, and you got my eyebrows poked up on a Tuesday afternoon, because Washington can definitely use some speed and some ball hawk ability. 5 picks in his career, despite all the games that he's missed so far. We can't catch interceptions, so I will take a 6'1", 4'4" speed corner here in a fucking heartbeat. Serve him up here over a silver platter. Jaycee Horn. If he's available, go get him. If we don't get him, I'll live with it, because ultimately, while we are riding high right now with a 4-1 start for the first time in 16 years, we're still evaluating what's here on the roster. So we still need to take a bigger and closer look at Emmanuel Forbes, at Noah Igbenogany. Don't want to see Michael Davis ever again. Maybe at some point Chigo Anuzium gets some run with the defense, but Jaycee Horn, I know that's a name that holds recognition to the fan base because everybody's been throwing him and Marshawn Lattimore out there all year. We have to pay attention to some of these ass rosters in the league because it could be fire sale season for some of these bad teams. And Washington, led by Adam Peters and Lance Newmark, have to come in and swoop if there's talent available because we cannot be content. We cannot be complacent at 4-1. The Eagles are liable to turn it up and turn up at any time. The Cowboys are liable to go on a winning streak, even despite a crazy schedule. We cannot be comfortable with a 4-1 start. There's still 12 games of football left, and we are about 3.5 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline of 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 5th, and Washington has now been linked through Scott Fitterer to Jaycee Horn, starting cornerback, number 1 cornerback for the Carolina Panthers. Let me know what you would think about Washington acquiring Jaycee Horn in the comments. Let me know what you think. I know y'all been throwing them names at me all season. I say if he's available, go for it. What about you? This video and all videos this season are brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, home of the fastest payouts in the industry. 150% match bonus on your first deposit using promo code YouTube150. 125% match bonus on the next 2. Bet responsibly and do it with BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Until next time, Commander Rio, out.